hears the presence of sound. Now the absence of sound is not heard by the ear, The one who witnesses the one who witnesses the process of hearing, meaning the one who witnesses the absence of hearing. So the one who knows the absence of sound is not ear, is the knower, the self. Like the sight sees the form, sight is related to the form. Supposing I don't have the sight, and that I don't have the sight, the absence of form and absence of sight is known to the sight, is known through the sight. There is no process of seeing. There is no process of seeing. Is known to whom? Is known to the being. Is not known to the being through the process of seeing. I don't use the chakshu to know, to illumine its absence. Not able to follow? I can't use the chakshu to know its own absence. Because if it is there to be used, then it is not absent. Therefore, the witness means to know the presence of perception and also absence of perception. Perception we can look at in two ways. One is a given perception, the other is total perception. A given perception means a form. A given perception means what? Seeing is a given perception. Hearing is a given perception. Tasting is a given perception. Touching, perception. Smelling, perception. Only 5 perceptions are there. So each perception is a given perception. There are 5 given perceptions. Now, one can know the absence of a given perception while awake. Even while awake, one can witness the absence of given perception. A deaf man knows the absence of hearing. A blind man knows the absence of seeing. Supposing all 5 perceptions are absent, that is called sleep. When you go to sleep, the deep sleep state, how many perceptions are there? All 5 perceptions become unmanifest. The unmanifest state of all 5 perceptions is what is called sleep. And there is unmanifest state of thought, memory. So this the negation of all perceptions, negation of thought, negation of memory itself is your experience. You stand minus perceptions. When perception is, you are with perception. When all perceptions are gone, you are without perceptions. So, just as the presence of perception is a matter of knowledge, its negation also is matter of knowledge. Otherwise, there would be no reference to the absence of perception. We wouldn't be talking about sleep unless there is someone to experience sleep. To sleep means what? To sleep to the world, to sleep to embodiment, to sleep to thought, to sleep to memory. Means what? To be without them. To sleep to them means to be without them. Does not mean not to be. To sleep to the world means to be without the world and does not mean not to be. Yourself not being is not implied in sleep. Yourself being without perception is implied. Like a blind man, when there is no process of seeing, not seeing does not mean not being. Not seeing implies being without seeing. Being without seeing alone is possible, that is called sleep. Being without seeing is possible, not being. There is no not being, but only being without seeing. Seeing means being and seeing. Not seeing means being and not seeing. If there were no not being, then there would be no knowledge of not seeing. If there were no being, if I don't exist, then there would be no knowledge of the negation of seeing. Therefore, the witness of presence of perception and absence of perception, the witness of the presence of the total perception and total absence of the total perception is what is called Shrotradehe api Shrotradi, the witness of the entire perception. Tat samarthya nimittam. It is this being itself which is the self behind all perceptions, is the reason behind all perceptions. The being behind perception enables the very functioning of perception. The being behind the sense organs is the force of the sense organs. The conscious being behind perception is the one which enables the very presence of perception. Like like what enables the pot? Pot form has to exist. So what is a precondition for pot? For the pot to be, what should be there? Clay. For the pot not to be there, what should be there? For the pot not to be there also, clay should be there. Otherwise, where are you going to dissolve the pot? Pot is a form. Where are you going to dissolve the pot? Unto clay. Supposing there were no clay, where are you going to resolve the form? Therefore, for appearance, you require the locus. For disappearance, require the locus. Appearance implies the content behind. Disappearance also implies content behind. Without a content, without the locus, there can't be appearance, there can't be disappearance. Without clay, there can't be pot. Without clay, you can't break the pot. Supposing you please eliminate the pot and don't resolve it onto the clay. Put the pot somewhere else. Don't put it back onto clay. Don't really put it back onto clay. So when the pot is broken, where has the pot gone? As though back to clay. As though gone back. Not that it has covered some space and then gone. Resolved unto clay. And therefore similarly here also, any perception, it presupposes the locus, the being, and its resolution also involves the being. That is why Krishna says, Matta smritir jnanam apohanam. It's a very beautiful sentence in the 15th adhyaya. Says, without me, the locus, you can't perceive, there is no perception without the being, and there is no remembrance, memory without the being, and then he says, you can't even forget without me. You can't forget also without the locus. The memory becoming resolved is also the being. Without the being, there is no perception. Without being, there is no thought, there is no memory. Without being, there is no forgetfulness also. Everything is, the locus for all these processes is clay. The Chetanam is consciousness, is the conscious being. Is the aspadam, is the locus of a phenomenon called perception, a phenomenon otherwise, another phenomenon called the absence of perception, another phenomenon thought, another phenomenon absence of it, another phenomenon time, another phenomenon absence of time, another phenomenon embodiment, another phenomenon absence of embodiment. These various phenomena under negation, all of them are taking place presupposing the being. Minus that, there would be no knowledge of phenomena. Phenomena doesn't know, a given phenomenon doesn't know its existence. A given phenomenon doesn't know itself. There is a being who knows all phenomena. Phenomena, the events are millions. Every perception is an event. I see here, that is an event, gone. I look at here, another perception begins, ends. So that means how many individual perceptions take place every day? Billions. You got uncountable. But all of them are known to one or many? One. One is a phenomenon, the other is the one who knows it. To know a given phenomenon means to also know its negation. Unless there is a negation of a given individual phenomenon, there would be no knowledge of the second following phenomenon and its negation. Thus there is constant rise and fall of perceptions, rise and fall of thoughts, rise and fall of memory, rise and fall of pleasures and pains, rise and fall of sorrows. Bahut sansar chalta hai. And the one who looks at the whole sansara is the self. The one who knows the process of samsara is the self. And himself knows the absence of samsara also as one falls asleep. And therefore, is the force behind the sense organs. Iti prativachanam, this answer, shabdarthascha, meaning, upapadyate eva. Therefore, it is but proper, it is but tenable to say that the self is the ear of the ear, the eye of the eye, the mind of the mind, meaning it is the truth behind everything. Even your individual will can exist and get resolved only in the self. Without the self, there is no will also. That conscious self, which witnesses the presence and absence of the will also, cannot be absent. So in a way we can say the self is what? The self Atma is the ear of the ear, eye of the eye, pranasya pranaha, chakshushas chakshuhu, shrotrasya shrotram, manaso manaha. All these terms, this kind of description is absolutely proper. It is but tenable to say like this about the Atma. More of it we'll see later. We continue this next class. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnahat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Om Tat Sat. Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhetamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shrutismriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha. So Shrotrasya Shrotram, Chakshushaha Chakshuhu, Manaso Manaha, all these words. So Atma is called the ear of the ear, eye of the eye. All these expressions simply mean that without the Atma, Chakshu cannot function. Plus, Chakshu is the object of Atma. Like the form is the object of the sight, and sight itself becomes the object of Atma. Sound is the object of the ear, and the ear itself becomes the object of Atma. When we say the Chakshu is the object of Atma, we mean Chakshu plus form both as one block becomes the object of Atma. And when we say the block becomes the object of Atma, it means its absence also becomes the object of Atma. So here, tat samarthya nimittam iti prativachanam shabdarthascha upapadyate iti. Up to this we have seen. It is but proper to say that the Atma is the eye of the eye, ear of the ear, pranasya pranaha, mind of the mind, to show that it is the presence of Atma is necessary for the thought to be, for the sight to be, for the hearing to be, for the doubt to be, for any faculty to function. Atma's presence is choiceless. Whereas Atma's existence does not depend upon a faculty, but a faculty's existence depends upon Atma. Therefore, Atma is the faculty of the faculty. the sense of the sense, the sight of the sight. Okay. Tatha, in the same manner, just as it is the sight of the sight and sound of the sound, ear of the ear, in the same manner, it is the mind of the mind. That is said, tatha, similarly, manasaha antahkaranasya manaha. A man ka bhi man hai. Manasaha, of the mind. What is mind? Antahkaranasya. Manasaha means antahkaranasya. Antahkaranaka. Manaha, mind. So Atma is the mind of the mind. The mind of the mind should not become a mystic statement. It is the mind of the mind. It's a nice expression. It doesn't mean anything. So it's the mind of the mind and the sight of the sight and ear of the ear. Then I can say it is the mind of the mind of the mind. You say it is the mind of the mind. I say it is the mind of that mind, which is the mind of your mind. So it has no end. So it should not become mystical. Should be understood it is not a mind, it is just called mind because it is the knower of the very mind. Mind is called the mind because it illumines the objects, it conveys the objects. Thought is related to the object. Thought objectifies the object, whereas thinking objectifies the objects, whereas the thinking itself is illumined by Atma. When thinking is, it is the Atma that illumines the thinking. When thinking is not, the very absence of thinking is illumined by Atma. That Atma is just called the mind of the mind, but not actually. It is mind, it's not a mind. Now, he says why it is called the mind of the mind. That is being said here. Nahi, certainly not. Antahkaranam. This antahkaranam. Chaitanya Jyotishaha Didhitim Antarena. Antarena means without. This antahkaranam, without, Chaitanya Jyotishaha Didhitim Antarena. Didhitim means Jyotihi ityarthaha. Prakashaha. Prakasha. Didhitim means what? Prakashaha. Chaitanya Jyotishaha Didhitim Antarena. Without the light of Chaitanya Jyotihi. Means what? Without Chaitanya Jyotihi. Chaitanya Jyoti ka prakash means what? Chaitanya Jyotihi prakasha. So without being illumined, without the light of the Chaitanyam, Didhitim Antarena means without. Without what? Without Chaitanya Jyotishaha Didhitim, without Antahkaranam, this Antahkarana jo hai, Swa Vishaya Sankalpa Adhyavasayadi Samartham Nasyat. That Nakara is there at the beginning of the sentence, that Nakara has to be brought in and kept, means understood along with Syat. Antahkaranam na samartham syat. Antahkaranam has no capacity. Antahkaranam has no capacity. Samartham means what? Capable. Antahkaranam is not capable. Capable of what? Antahkaranam without the Chaitanya Jyotihi, Antahkaranam is not capable. Capable of what? Swa Vishaya Sankalpa Adhyavasayadi. It will not be capable of its own functions. Swa Vishaya means its own functions like what? Sankalpa, to entertain a sankalpa. Adhyavasaya, and to entertain and to gain knowledge. To entertain a doubt, or to entertain a doubt, or to gain knowledge. These are the two things which are upalakshanas for everything. Doubt is a capacity of the mind. Antahkarana ka dharmi to hai. Doubting, knowing, liking, disliking, all emotions, pleasures, pains, all that is Antahkaranam capable of, it is capable of not without Chaitanya Jyoti. Means without the Chaitanya Jyoti, Antahkaranam would be incapable of all that it is capable of now. So therefore here it says, Svavishaya Sankalpadhyavasayadi Samartham Nasyat. So there, because Antahkaranam will not be capable of any of these things, therefore we say Atma is the mind of the mind. When we say Antahkaranam will not be capable of all these things, you better understand they will not be possible. There is no possibility of a doubt without Chaitanyam behind. There is no possibility of a perceptual knowledge without Chaitanyam behind. There is no possibility of any emotion like love or hatred or anger or jealousy. Any emotion is not possible without Atma behind. Therefore, their possibility is due to what? Their possibility is due to what? That is indeed the mind of the mind. What is possible? Mind is possible. Mind means what? Thought is possible. Doubt is mind. Knowledge is mind. Emotion is mind. Pleasure is mind. Pain is mind. Not mind as a thing is working all these things. Mind doesn't think, thinking is mind. Mind doesn't think, thinking is mind. Thought is mind. Emotion is mind. Pleasure is mind. Pain is mind. Fear is mind. Love is mind. Hate is mind. Anger is mind. Fear is mind. Therefore, mind doesn't have fear. Don't say mind fears. Fear is mind. Even to see this distinction, one has to think at least 6 years, if not more. Mind doesn't think, thinking is mind. Thought is otherwise called, thinking is otherwise called mind. Doubt is otherwise called mind. Determination is otherwise called mind. Therefore, all these put together is called mind. Each thought or emotion or feeling is called mind. Not that mind feels. If mind feels, then why should you bother then? Obviously, my mind has got a lot of problems. Then why should you bother if your mind has problems? Your mind has got a lot of problems. People will, my mind has got, your mind has no problem, you have problem and that problem is mind. Your mind thinks or you are thinking? You are thinking, the conscious being, you are entertaining a thought. That process of entertaining a thought is called mind. Mind doesn't think. Therefore, mind. Thought is otherwise called mind. Thinking is otherwise called mind. This is not possible without Chaitanya. Because where is it possible? Thought is possible within conscious being. Without you, the conscious being, where does the thought take place? Thought cannot take place without you. Thought cannot take place in vacuum, in nothingness. There is no vacuum in which thought can take place. Because if you think of vacuum, even vacuum becomes a matter of thought. See? And therefore, these things are not possible. Sankalpa, Vikalpa, Adhyavasaya, these things are not, memory are not possible without Atma. Therefore, Atma is called the mind of the mind, which makes that possible, which is the truth of it. Like even water makes, you have to follow these sentences very, very correctly. And when you think you are following, you are really not following. You have to again try and try and try. Like the water makes the wave possible, and also it is the truth of the wave. Minus the water, there is no such thing called wave. This is what is called making the wave possible. The possibility of the wave is there due to water. Supposing somebody says it is not the water that makes the wave possible, but it is the pressure in the ocean that makes the wave possible. Where is the pressure without water? What is primary thing that is necessary, primary condition behind the possibility of the wave? Water. So water makes the wave possible. But having made the wave possible, what is the truth of that wave which is made possible? Water. So water is the possibility of the wave, is the truth of the wave. Both you have to see. Water is the possibility behind. Water makes the wave possible. Water is the truth of the wave. Similarly,
Atma makes the thought possible, and Atma is the truth of the thought, and as such Atma is the mind of the mind, the mind of the mind. Tasmat, therefore, manasopi manaha iti. Therefore we say Atma is the mind of the mind. Tasman manasaha api manaha. Atma is called the mind of the mind because the Atma makes the thought possible. Atma makes the thought possible. Atma is the truth of the thought. Now here when we say manaha, it includes buddhihi also. Mind means buddhihi, means all faculties. It is an upalakshanam for everything. Every emotion means mind. Every feeling is mind. Every doubt is mind. Every memory is mind. Every piece of knowledge is mind. Anything other than absolute, all that disappears in Sushupti is mind. In Sushupti, what disappears? When you go to Sushupti, what disappears in Sushupti is all called mind. So how many things disappear in the mind, in the Sushupti? Everything. Perception goes, all thoughts go, all emotions go, all feelings go, all fears go, all memories go, all everything goes. Try to tell me one thing which doesn't go in Sushupti. It should be a thought. Which thought doesn't go in Sushupti? I mean some divine thought, We carry all the divine thoughts into Sushupti. Which divine thought do you carry? Do you carry any divine thought? You don't have one even while awake. What you don't have while awake, how can you carry it into the Sushupti? All the thoughts that we have are all thoughts of the objects, not divine thoughts. Even Indra doesn't have divine thoughts because divinity is not a matter of thought. Atma is really divyam. It is not an object of thought anyway. So when you have a thought, its subject matter is always inert matter. Whether it is a heavenly matter or earthly matter, matter is inert. Therefore, there is no thought that doesn't disappear in Sushupti. That means all that disappears in Sushupti is called mind. Iha buddhi manasi, here buddhi and mind, eki kritya, combining them into one, nirdeshaha manasaha iti. Aisa nirdesh kiya jata hai ki man ka iti. When we say it is the Atma is the mind of the mind, it also means it is the intellect of the intellect. Is it clear? When we say it is the mind of the mind, it also implies it is intellect of the intellect. Simply, it is the thought of the thought. And there are many types of thoughts. What you call intellect is thought. What you call mind is thought. What you call memory is thought. What you call perception is thought. What you call feeling is thought. What you call pleasure is thought. What you call pain is thought. There is nothing but thought, 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 thought. Therefore, Atma is the thought of the thought. Means what? The possibility of behind the thought, minus which thought is not possible, and it is the truth of the thought. Thought takes place in the realm of the self, not that the self exists in the realm of thought. Self doesn't exist in the realm of thought, but thought exists in the realm of the self. That self, when thought goes, it is. That's why it is the mind of the mind. In the same manner, just as it is the possibility and the truth of the sight, is the possibility and the truth of the sound, ear, and it is the possibility and the truth of the mind, in the same manner, it is the possibility behind and the truth of the speech. That is given here, yad vachoha vacham. It is the vak of the vak. Yad jo vachaha of the speech, vacham means vak. Vacham. There is no vacham. There is only vak. Vacham iti second case. It is the vak of the vak. It should be, vacham should be converted into vak. You can underline and write down vak iti. Grammatically, it is wrong to say vachoha vacham. Grammatically, it would be right to say vachoha vak. It is the vak of vak. Vacham nahi hoga, prathama mein रहना चाहिए ना. He is the mind of the mind. When we say, now please listen. उसको तो सुनना पड़ता है. मन को इधर उधर घुमाएंगे तो बस चले जाता है words. When we say it is the mind of the mind, there are two minds. Mind of the mind. It is the mind. That mind should be in the first case. Of the mind, that should be in the sixth case. The mind, it is the mind. It is the mind. Is in which case? First case. Of the mind, sixth case. Similarly, it is the vak of vak. When we say the first vak should be in the first case, of the vak should be sixth case. But here, what is to be placed in the first case has been placed in the second case, which is wrong. Grammatically, it is wrong. It is grammatically wrong. Therefore, we have to convert the second case into the first case. स्वामी जी ये केसेस को छोड़ दीजिए, हमको आत्मा के बारे में बताइए. ऐसा भी नहीं, ऐसा नहीं, उसको भी बताना पड़ेगा. वाचोह वाचम मीनिंग यच्छब्दः यस्मादर्थे. यच्छब्दः, the word yat, yasmat arthe, in the sense of because. Yasmadarthe means in the sense of because. Yachabdaha, the word yat. Yad vachoha vacham is there, Yad vachoha vacham is there. In that word yat is in the sense of reason. In the sense of reason. Yasmadarthe, and it is connected, Shrotradibihi sarvaihi sambhadyate. It is connected to the whole shloka. Meaning what? Because it is the ear of the ear, it is the ear of the ear, it is the eye of the eye, it is the mind of the mind, because it is the eye of the eye, because it is the ear of the ear, because it is the mind of the mind, because it is the speech of the speech. Speech of the speech means that which is the possibility behind the speech, means that which makes the speech possible, and also the truth of the speech. Yasmat shrotrasya shrotram yasmat manasaha manaha ityevam. He himself explains that yati is in the sense of yasmat and should be connected to all. Means what? Yasmat shrotrasya shrotram, because it is the shrotram of the shrotram. Yasmat manasaha manaha, because it is the mind of the mind, because it is the eye of the eye, because it is the ear of the ear, because it is the speech of the speech. ऐसा संबंध जोड़ना चाहिए. Is it clear? Because Atma is, what does this mean? Because it is the eye of the eye means because it is not an object of the eye. Is it clear? Did you hear this sentence? Because it is the eye of the eye means because it is not an object of the eye. The form is eye of the eye or the object of the eye? Object of the eye. Sound is object of the ear. Now because Atma is eye of the eye means what? Not the form. Because it is the ear of the ear, that means what? It is not a sound. There are two things established. It is not a sound, it is not also the ear, but it is the ear of the ear. That means it is not the sound, it is not the ear, but the jnata, the illuminator of both, the truth of both. Is it clear? It is the eye of the eye means it is not the form, and it is not the eye, because it is the eye of the eye, and therefore it is the soul of the eye, means the truth of the eye. Because it is not the form, not the eye, but the truth of both. It's not the sound, not the ear, but the truth of both. Not the object, not the thought, but the truth of both. Because of all these reasons, he's going to say something later on. But now it's all said this much. Now, there is some grammatical resolution. The grammar is being analyzed here. Vachoha vachamiti. Vachoha vachamiti. Vachaha is in the sixth case. Vachamiti is in the second case. So, what is in the second case has to be put in the first case. Vachamiti dvitiya, the second case. Prathamattvena, as the first case. Viparinamyate is changed. Clear? The word that is in the second case is transformed, means what is put in the first case, otherwise grammatically the sentence will be wrong. So, grammatically, even if it is wrong, it doesn't matter, we get the meaning, that's all enough. But through grammatical wrong, you will get a wrong meaning. You know? If you can accommodate one wrong, then why not we accommodate the wrong in the meaning also? The error in the word is so accommodatable, if you can accommodate, the error in the meaning also can be accommodated. If so many errors can be accommodated, why begin thinking at all? Because thinking is meant for resolving an error. Then if you can accommodate, because you have heard spirituality, because accommodation is very important. Because amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, kshanti, arjava. So you must have really you should be magnanimous in your thinking. When you are magnanimous in your thinking, then you are magnanimous in your accommodation. Let there be 1,000 errors, what does it matter? You accommodate all the errors. Therefore, that is not going to help you. To accommodate means to accommodate the real, not to accommodate the error. To accommodate an attitude, not the error, please. Somebody else's shortcoming you can accommodate, not somebody else's wrong thinking. You can accommodate the person, but you can't accommodate his wrong thinking. Supposing somebody makes a mistake, do you accommodate his wrong thinking or do you accommodate the person despite his wrong thinking? You accommodate the person despite his wrong thinking, not that you accommodate wrong thinking. You don't follow the wrong thinking. You accommodate a person despite wrong thinking, but you don't accommodate wrong thinking. You should never have place for wrong thinking, whether it is grammatical or meaning-wise. Therefore, here it says, Vachoha vachamiti dvitiya prathamattvena parinamyate. It is changed into first case. Why? Pranasya pranaha iti darshanat. Because in the same shloka we see pranasya pranaha. Pranasya iti sixth case, pranaha iti first case. Pranasya pranaha iti. Pranasya is in the sixth case, pranaha iti in the first case. Therefore here also vachoha vak iti, vak should be first case, not vachamiti. Vachoha vachamiti etat anurodhena. In keeping with vachoha vacham, pranasya pranamiti kasmat dvitiya eva na kriyate. Some funny Purvapakshi asks a question, why not we convert the prathama into dvitiya rather than dvitiya into prathama? The other things, you want an agreement. You want an agreement between prana, vak, manaha, all these things. Now, why not we convert all the first cases into second case? Definitely not Shankara. Vachoha vach, this kind of Purvapakshis he never raises. Vachoha vachamityetad anurodhena, in keeping with the vachoha vacham, the second case, pranasya pranamiti kasmat dvitiya eva na kriyate. Why not we convert the pranaha into pranam? Iti Purvapaksha. For that he says na, because he has got some logic in the mind and he wants to put it here, and therefore he creates a context. What is that? Na, aisa nahi. Why? Bahunam anurodhasya yuktatvat. Meaning, the principle of democracy has to be followed. What is bahunam anurodham? Bahunam means many, means majority. Anurodham means agreement. Bahunam anurodham, bahunam anurodhasya yuktatvat. It is but proper to follow the majority of words. Now in this shloka, the majority of the words are in the first case and this particular word called vacham is in the second case. Therefore it is better to convert the one to fall in line with the many rather convert the many to fall in line with one. This is what is called bahunam anurodha. Bahunam anurodha means to be in agreement with the many. Supposing this shloka were the other way. Let us imagine, because Veda is capable of really not bothering about the grammatical rules. Let us imagine a situation in which the majority of the words in this shloka are in the second case and one word is in the first case, then you would have been forced to put all the words in the second case to fall in line with the one, because that is grammatically correct. What is correct, even though the majority doesn't follow it. Bahunam anurodhasya yuktatvam should not be applied here in the case of grammar, please. Grammatically, what is correct is correct. Supposing Ramaha, Ramu, Ramaha, Ramam, Ram, Ramu, Raman, supposing Ramam gacchati. Ramaha gacchati or Ramam gacchati or Ramaha gacchati? Ramaha gacchati, but not Ramam gacchati. Ramam gacchati. राम को जाता है नहीं, राम जाता है. राम को जाता है कहेंगे तो और कोई जाता है राम को. Therefore now if the subject has to be where? In the first case or second case? Subject has to be in the first case. Supposing you come across a piece of writing in which Veda, due to some reason, it puts all the subjects in the second case. How will you understand? You see the things in the second case, but your understanding is first case. You have to put them in the first case. What is right, wrong is wrong. Therefore here, bahunam anurodhasya yuktatvat, this need not be given here. Vachamityasya vagityetavat vaktavyam. Vachamityasya, this word vacham, vagityetavat vaktavyam should be said as vak. What is written here as vacham should be said as vak. Why? Savu pranasya pranaha. Because there are more than one nominative cases, like saha. Saha is what? Nominative case. Pranasya pranaha, nominative case. Even if you take one sentence in which really there are two nominative cases and one accusative case, therefore the accusative case has to be converted into nominative case. Iti shabdadvaya anurodhena, in keeping with the two words, the one has to be converted. So the one has to fall in line with the two, not the two have to fall in line with the one. ऐसी न्याय होगा अगर फॉलो करेंगे. The two happen to be wrong. Supposing the two happen to be wrong. What is democracy? The minority has to fall in line with majority. The one has to fall in line with the two. That is called democracy. That is called bahunam anurodha. In Sanskrit, democracy means bahunam anurodha. So now, जो ज़्यादा है उसके अनुसार चलो. The majority, follow the majority. Supposing there are two in one group, both happen to be wrong. There is one who is right. Now, can you follow that rule? Can you follow the rule of majority? No. You can't follow the rule of majority. It's called democracy. Democracy means what? It is all just a game of numbers. Right and wrong, nobody bothers. There is no dharma veda, there is only minority, majority. Evam hi bahunam anurodha yuktaha kutasyat. Now, he says, why should we follow this bahunam anurodha? Why should we follow this bahunam anurodha? For this really, there is going to be another another argument about it, which we'll see later on. Up to this, you can write down the notes. तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः. So, page number 39. पृष्ठं च वस्तु प्रथमया एव निर्देष्टुं युक्तम्. पृष्ठं च वस्तु. This is what we know. The fact that has been asked for. So the student has asked to know, he wanted to know the vastu as to what is it, that is the prana,